welcome one and all to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. Working with companies when you have issues with your home or office should be easy. It should take stress away. It should not be your problem because you're paying them to do it. That's not always the case, but it is true when you're dealing with Water Cleanup of Florida. I've dealt with it myself. My wife and I had issues with our prior home. Water Cleanup of Florida came out. First of all, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they either answer the call or get right back to you and set up an appointment, which was already a stress reliever. They come out very soon after that, and the process is seamless from that point on. They did it for me, my wife and I, and they will do it for you. 954-579-0356. Call them. Again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They will get right back to you, and they will make sure someone comes and alleviates any water problem with your home or office. Plus, and I say this all the time, and I'm going to keep saying it because it's not always the case. That's my biggest fear, is having to go find someone that I trust to get the job done. Having to find 2 or 3 for one job is an even bigger deal. Well, with them, they handle everything. With licensed, certified, insured contractors, they are a one-stop shop. You have problems with leaks, water damage of any kind in your home or office, they'll handle all of it. 954-579-0356. Check them out on their website, WCUFL.com. Check them out on the socials at Water Cleanup FL. Again, don't let water issues become an issue in your life. Allow Water Cleanup of Florida to eradicate them. If you have schmutz, believe me, they have the guts. The Miami Heat have tried to have guts. They were very active this offseason. From all accounts, they were very active at the trade deadline, and squat. Nothing happened, which is very rare. A lot of the younger fans have this frustration with Pat Riley. I've become aware that he tries, and it's not all him at this point. He's a part of it, but he has a really good brain trust there with the Heat that they make things happen for the most part. So far, lately, they've struck out. The buyout market this year is really strong. It feels like the Heat are going to be highly involved in that. They haven't yet. I talked with AP NBA writer, reporter Brian Mahoney about the NBA at large, about the Kyrie move, the Kevin Durant move, what's going on out west, and of course, we talk about the Miami Heat and what could happen on the buyout market right here, the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We've talked to this gentleman a lot over the years. He's a busy man, especially with the NBA giving you late nights, so we don't always get him here, but appreciate that the AP's NBA writer reporter Brian Mahoney has found time to join us this morning. Good morning, Brian. How you doing?
Well, good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing well, my friend. You're over there in the Northeast, so hopefully you're staying warm. It's definitely been interesting when it comes to the basketball world in the Northeast, as the Knicks have actually played pretty good basketball, and the Nets have sort of just said, we're tearing it down. What are some of your thoughts about what we've seen from the Brooklyn Nets and then also from the New York Knicks?
Well, I'd rather be the Knicks right now. I think they're stable.
They're
not the most talented team, but they like the pieces they have, and they play hard, and they don't have any drama, and that's a good thing. The Nets, they used to have 2 great players, ton of drama. They're going to sort of figure out what they have left now. Obviously, trading Kevin Durant, trading Kyrie Irving. They got back some good players, but none of them are great scorers, and we've seen in the 2 games since then, the Nets are going to be competitive, but when you got to have guys put the ball in the basket in the fourth quarter in crunch time, right now they don't have that. And, you probably need that to really be a real title contender.
Well, and I feel weird asking this because I actually was one from the beginning that never saw how that was going to work, but I'll ask anyways because you're there, and I'm sure you cover plenty of Brooklyn Nets games. What happened, and was there ever a chance that it was going to work, the Harden, Kyrie Irving, Durant thing, when we knew what they were going in?
I think it was. As a matter of fact, the one time when they did play together, the 2021 playoffs, they were up 2-0 on Milwaukee. They really crushed them the first 2 games before, Harden was hurt, and then Kyrie was hurt, and then they lose that series. But it was such a small window. Who knows what would have happened in the years afterward. I think ultimately, if I had to say what happened in my mind, it was just that, look, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving had won titles elsewhere. They didn't come to Brooklyn to win more titles. They came here for family reasons, for business reasons, to just hang out with each other. Yeah. Whatever the reasons were, it wasn't about winning titles. So you're not going to then go all in on doing the things you had to do. For Kyrie Irving, that was getting the vaccine to play in New York. For Kevin Durant, it would have been forcing, at least trying to lobby Kyrie to do it. If you can't force him, you could at least try and encourage him to do it. And unfortunately, James Harden got tired of that quickly and he wanted out.
See, that's interesting you say that, because that's an honesty we didn't hear. Like, they all said, and I get it, when you're doing interviews, when you're on social media, you're saying all the right things, but even I, who didn't think it would work, felt they actually did want to win titles, and that was a point of showing that we can work together to win titles. So the fact that you were there seeing, that's not what they were doing, and it clearly wasn't what they were doing, is very interesting. Now, do you think either of them transition back? Because Durant had that mode with the Warriors. That's why he went to Golden State. Kyrie, once upon a time with Cleveland, did have that motivation. Do you see them in their new locations? Because, again, the Mavs were in the conference finals. People forget that. Like, a buddy of mine was like, it was 2 years ago. I was like, no, it was last year. So you add a Kyrie, that should make them better. The Suns, 2 years ago themselves, were in the NBA finals. So adding a Durant, a lot of people, look, the betting odds are the favorite. What do you think those moves do for their new locations?
I think it's going to work out pretty well for both of them, at least in the short term. Kyrie is playing for a contract. He needs to right now play well, and he has been playing well. And by all accounts, Luka Doncic, I think, is happy to have another, great player with him. And, Kevin Durant is going to be around guys now who do have that drive to win a title. Chris Paul still hasn't won one. I know he loves Devin Booker's game. I think Phoenix is going to be terrific right now. So, probably for both guys and maybe both those teams, it's going to be a pretty good situation.
What's funny is, and the Nuggets are, I think, being forgotten. And now, because people got used to them not having Murray, that they don't realize with Murray, with this Aaron Gordon, with Jokic, who's probably the best player in the NBA all around right now, outside of Giannis, like, the Nuggets should be talked more about, the better team in the league. But it feels like the consensus is the Bucks and the Celtics, who happen to play tonight. What are your thoughts on those two teams? Because the odds are all on the Celtics. They went and added Brogdon and didn't really give up much to a team that was in the NBA Finals and did push the Warriors to 6 games. To me, the Bucks are sort of another team that's forgotten in a sense. They won the title 2 years ago. Middleton got hurt last year. And even without Middleton, they pushed the Celtics to 7 games last season's playoffs. In that potential Eastern Conference Finals matchup tonight, what are your thoughts? Because it feels like people lean Celtics. I feel like the Bucks, with Giannis, with a healthy Middleton, and with what they put together, plus they're going to add a Jay Crowder, to me, that's the most well-rounded team in the NBA. What are your thoughts about tonight's matchup, and which way do you lean?
Well, I think you're right on everything you said, basically. I think the Celtics are still probably the deepest team overall and maybe the best team. But listen, since Middleton came back, Milwaukee looks like what everyone thought they were going to look like.
10 in a row.
Yeah, 10 in a row, exactly. And, we'll see what Crowder does when he starts playing for them. But, I think the most unstoppable player in the league in Giannis. So I would take either of them. I don't really know which one right now. I would say it's the better one, but I think either one certainly can win a title. And I think you're right with Denver, too. I do think they get overlooked a little bit, probably because Jokic is so great that people don't realize how great the pieces around him now, and that's a terrific team.
So we're out of South Florida, so I'm obliged to talk a little Heat. Look, they are the 6th seed, and they are only a game and a half out of the 5th seed, and it's not like the Cavs are some juggernaut. So winning a first-round series is definitely feasible. But this is a team that was one shot away from a finals, and they did bring the band back together, and they did try to make tons of moves, and they failed, which is unusual for the Heat. Usually if Riley really desperately wants to make a move, he makes it. And this offseason and this trade deadline, that was not the case. What are your thoughts on the Miami Heat? I will admit I don't see them as a contender right now, but it's interesting to see Bam finally take that step to become aggressive on both ends of the floor, to see Butler really be playing the best ball of his career. But they're not getting help from guys that we saw them get a lot of help from the last 2 postseasons. The last 2 times they were in the postseason.
Yeah, I think, Bam's been, fantastic this year. Really grown his game. You know what you're going to get from Jimmy. But I think they kind of feel like one player away. It just, it doesn't feel like Lowry has it anymore. at least on a night-to-night basis, to do what he used to do. Hero, you're going to get obviously a pretty good night from, but maybe one more piece is, and maybe they find it in the buyout market. I wouldn't rule out them still getting someone else, but they're going to be a tough out no matter what seed they are. They are the Heat. They do play as tough as anyone, but as far as being a true contender, I put them just sort of outside that range right now.
When we talked about, it's funny, I've never really focused on the buyout market, and I've heard a lot of people say this, but it feels like this year's buyout market is actually pretty strong. Like a guy like Terrence Ross is a starting caliber player, and he's going to be in the buyout. We're hearing a lot of different people in the buyout. Is there anyone in the buyout you think that could be helpful for the Miami Heat?
Well, I mean, if Westbrook is out there,
yeah.
I think that would be interesting. The guy plays as hard as anyone. It didn't work out in the Lakers, but that doesn't change the fact that he plays, as hard as anyone in the game, and that goes that's looked at pretty favorably in a place like Miami. So, I think if they can find some kind of point guard type player, I think that's the one piece right now that could really, change our lineup a little bit.
It's interesting you bring up, and Defoe, who's not here, has always been a big Westbrook fan. Look, he's a lot of fun. Even now, what's so funny is he's been forgotten. He still is athletic, and he still, when he wants to, puts up big numbers. And that was always something he was able to do, but he never got better as a shooter. And the game evolved to where everyone on the floor, literally the big man, the guard, point guard, all need to be able to shoot at least competently. And the fact that he's never been able to do that has really hurt him. Can he fit somewhere? Because it's funny, coming off the bench, he gives you energy. He plays okay defense. He can get to the basket. He actually always has decent to good assist numbers. But you have all these teams needing their guards to shoot threes, which he doesn't do, whether it's Miami or somewhere else. Can he figure out a place where this way he plays fits in 2023?
Well, it is a concern that his shooting does seem to have gotten worse. It was never great, obviously, never his best skill, but it's only a couple of years ago where he was playing at like an all NBA level when he was in Washington. It's not that long ago. He's still pass the ball, still plays at a great pace, still is a tremendous rebounder for a guard. Like there's still more positives than negatives when you overall look at it. It's just the negatives really stood out because of all the attention on that team and how poorly he fit there. But when you strip that away, there's still a lot of things you say that are better than what we have right now for a lot of teams.
So the team that is the defending champions, I'm not going to lie. I was all in on the Warriors. I thought last year was almost a fluke kind of a thing where they shouldn't even won last year. So this year they're going to be scary. Wiseman and Moody and Kuminga are just going to grow. And Clay's going to be another year removed from the surgery. And you still have Steph playing at a ridiculous level. And he showed that he can almost carry a team to a title, which he hadn't really had to do in his career. So it was like, wow, the Warriors who have won so much, maybe even scarier. And then the season happened, and they've had a lot of injuries, and now Curry's hurt again, and Clay's been inconsistent, and Draymond's a year older and a year worse, to be brutally honest. And the young guys have not come along. Is there light at the end of the tunnel for the Warriors? Because it's so weird. A team that I thought would just run roughshod over the league is pretty much forgotten.
It doesn't feel like it's going to happen. The longer it goes on, they're early in the year. I said, okay, they'll get over this. They haven't gotten over it. I thought sort of same as you, that the young guys would take a good step this year and it'll allow them to not have to overuse the older guys, and it would be a good, but that hasn't happened. And now you're going to have to use the older guys a ton, and you're going to be playing out of a bad seed and have to win maybe, 3 series on the road. So, I never would rule out the Warriors with what they have, but it's going to be hard to force yourself into picking them, that's for sure.
Okay, so before we go, and we're doing around the NBA, I'm not sure if Brian was ready for that, but I appreciate him doing this. As you can tell, Brian, we've been very football intensive, so I'm trying to transition our audience into the NBA. So I appreciate you helping me do that.
Sure thing.
What's funny is 2 of the teams that are atop the Western Conference are 2 teams. Yeah, one was good last year, and no one's still talking about them. And the other was a team that we haven't talked about since Chris Webber and Mike Bibby wore their jerseys. The Kings and the Memphis Grizzlies play as fun a brand of basketball as there is, yet no one talks about either. Either of them, I feel like, I'm sure NBA circles talks about the Grizzlies because John Morant feels like he's not a human being. But the Lay fan still wants to talk Lakers and Clippers and Warriors and even Mavs and throw the Knicks and the Nets in there. When the Kings are 3rd in the West, the Grizzlies are 2nd, And I've been waiting for the Kings to fall off, and they're not going away. And the Grizzlies seem scary. What are your thoughts on those two teams and their legitimacy as contenders out west?
Well, we know Memphis was a tough playoff out last year. Only you would think better this year. The Kings are a team we haven't seen. They haven't been in the playoffs in 18 years, whatever it is, 17 years. So it'll be interesting to see if they get in. But it's a great team right now. When you look at Fox and Sabonis, it's a nice mixture, and some of the shooting they have. It's interesting to see these new teams that we haven't put a ton of attention on. The problem is sort of, like you say, there's so much focus on the Lakers, how bad things are going there, and the other big market teams, you sort of lose sight of it. But I look forward to watching a lot more of Sacramento in the spring. We know what Ja can do, but the Kings just haven't been on TV a lot, but they're an interesting lineup that is a team that there's a lot to like about them.
And we went almost 20 minutes, so there you go. Most people would have started with it. We'll finish with it. The talk about the Clippers were a favorite coming in, and they've actually played pretty well. They're a top 4 seed in the West. The Lakers have not, and they retooled. They retooled as much as anyone, literally going and getting Russell, and a guy who is a much better shooter and more of a team guy than a Russell Westbrook. They went and got Beasley, who's a nice role player. They've added some size. They've really tried to make this lineup more of a contender, at least a playoff team over a play-in team. Any thoughts on the Lakers? Because everyone loves to talk Lakers. I actually haven't. I really haven't cared about them. But LeBron is still putting up ridiculous numbers and did just set the all-time scoring record. And they did make all those moves. Will those moves mean anything? Like, what are your thoughts on the Lakers going forward? Do they have a shot to actually be interesting come playoff time?
I think if LeBron and Anthony Davis are truly healthy, I think those moves will make them a team that could get in. The moves they made were pretty good, but the problem is, is LeBron healthy enough to do this all year with his foot? Can Anthony Davis ever stay healthy enough? Because if they can't, it doesn't matter how good the beats are around them. Those guys have to be out there. So we'll see. They at least, I think, improve. Is it going to be enough? Depends on those two guys, I think.
Brian, we really appreciate your time. I know you have a lot going on with nights with the NBA and mornings with your everyday life, so appreciate you finding time with us. Follow this gentleman. He is great on Twitter, at Brian C. Mahoney, AP's NBA writer, reporter. Brian, appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and hopefully we get to talk to you again soon.
I hope so. Thanks, Mike. Take care.
All right, be well, Brian. Thank you. The NBA is bustling. The Heat are not the only thing going on. There's a lot of other things going on. You're seeing the Brooklyn Nets sort of collapse. You're seeing the Phoenix Suns become a favorite. The Bucks make the move that Heat fans wanted in getting Jay Crowder. The Sixers sort of standing pat, at least at this point. They brought in Dedmon. I don't know. I mean, the Heat fans are very happy to see Dedmon go, so I don't know why Sixers fans are happy to see him coming, but sure. And you have the Celtics, who made a lot of moves in the offseason. Still a very strong favorite. I don't know about the Celtics or the Bucks. I have been focused on the Heat to talk a little bit about the Heat with Brian C. Mahoney of the AP Heat. Look, power forward point guard is the big position of need. Terrence Ross was a guy that he were looking at, and it felt like he's been a Heat killer. He would fit with the Heat, whereas the Suns are where he's probably going to land. But, look, Russell Westbrook, the Heat need shooting. They do. They need a guard. They need a point guard who can shoot, and that's not Russell Westbrook. But they do need a guy that can come in off the bench and score, or a guy that can run an offense. And whatever Russell Westbrook is, and I've never been a big fan of him, if you can get him on the buyout market for not a lot of money, that's a different story, because he can still get to the basket. He can still distribute. And he's not great defensively, but he's not a total sieve, I don't think. So I don't know. I wouldn't run and get Russell Westbrook. I wouldn't have traded for him. But if you can get him on the buyout market, it's definitely an interesting option. Curious to see what the Heat do. The buyout market is supposed to be pretty strong. So far, the Heat have struck out time and time again the last year or so. We'll see if they're able to just go and get that piece that can put them over the top. Because the reality is Bam has become one of the top 15 players in the NBA. Butler, when you take how he plays in the playoffs into account, he is a top 10 player to me. I would take him over. Donovan Mitchell's putting up stats. He's a great player. Jimmy Butler, and Mitchell's had moments in the playoffs. He actually played well in the playoffs. Jimmy Butler's different. In the playoffs, he's as good as anyone in the NBA. He literally takes over series in the playoffs. So to me, Jimmy Butler's a top 10 player. When you have that, you have a shot. And Hero's played well at times this year. It's just the last month with injuries, he has not been the same. Oladipo's actually come back and been really good defensively, okay offensively, but again, he's banged up. And Lowry's useless. So that's a problem, is they have two strong players. They just don't have a supporting cast. And the Bucks and the Celtics and even the Sixers have a much stronger supporting cast at this point. The Heat seem a piece of a veteran, smart, savvy player away, P.J. Tucker, Jay Crowder, from really being a team that could give those other teams trouble. It feels like they're going to do something here. Mahoney believes it. A lot of the NBA people believe it. A lot of the Heat people believe it. I'm expecting it. We shall see what move they can pull. We will definitely talk more about that tomorrow morning, 7 to 9 on South Florida Live, the Defo Show with Lubie. Check out our national podcast on the Believe Network, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. And our South Florida content right here, the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.